5 more maritime mysteries. 1. The K-141 Kursk. The K-141 Kursk was a formidable Oscar II-class nuclear-powered submarine that symbolized the strength of the Russian Navy during the late 20th century. Built in 1994, the submarine was 505 feet long and capable of carrying 24 P-700 Granite cruise missiles, making it one of the largest and most powerful submarines of its time. The Kursk was part of Russia's Northern Fleet, and its missions primarily focused on patrolling the Barents and Norwegian seas, monitoring NATO activities, and ensuring Russia's nuclear deterrence capabilities. In August 2000, the Kursk took part in a major naval exercise in the Barents Sea, a demonstration of Russia's post-Cold War military power. It was during this exercise that tragedy struck. On August 12, 2000, 2 powerful explosions shook the Kursk at 11:28 a.m., causing the submarine to sink rapidly to the ocean floor. All 118 crew members aboard were lost. Theories. Torpedo explosion theory. Official explanation. The Russian government's official investigation concluded that the first explosion aboard the Kursk was caused by the detonation of a Type 65 torpedo. The torpedo's hydrogen peroxide fuel leaked, igniting a fire and triggering a catastrophic explosion. The second explosion, which occurred 2 minutes later, was much more powerful and resulted from the detonation of additional torpedoes in the submarine's torpedo room. Collision theory. Some early reports suggested that the Kursk may have collided with a foreign submarine, possibly a NATO vessel monitoring the Russian naval exercise. However, this theory was dismissed after international investigation teams found no evidence of such a collision. Sabotage or design flaw. Other conspiracy theories speculate that the Kursk was either sabotaged by foreign intelligence agencies or that the submarine suffered from a fatal design flaw that had been covered up by the Russian Navy. While these theories remain unproven, they highlight the ongoing suspicion and distrust surrounding the disaster. Legacy. The Kursk disaster remains one of the most tragic naval accidents in recent history. It exposed significant flaws in Russia's military readiness and rescue capabilities, as well as broader issues of government transparency. The failed rescue attempts and the delayed response from the Russian authorities led to public outrage and international criticism. The loss of the Kursk continues to resonate in Russia, a powerful symbol of the dangers of military secrecy and the human cost of naval warfare. 2. The Mont Blanc. The SS Mont Blanc was a French cargo ship involved in one of the most devastating non-nuclear explosions in history. On December 6, 1917, the Mont Blanc was sailing into the port of Halifax, Nova Scotia, loaded with a highly volatile cargo, including benzol, TNT, and picric acid, all materials intended for the war effort in Europe during World War I. At approximately 8:45 a.m., the Mont Blanc collided with the Norwegian vessel IMO in the Halifax harbor, sparking a catastrophic chain of events. When the Mont Blanc caught fire, its captain and crew abandoned the ship, warning of an imminent explosion. Unfortunately, their warnings went largely unheeded, and less than 20 minutes later, the ship exploded with a force equivalent to 2.9 kilotons of TNT. The blast obliterated much of Halifax's north end, killing nearly 2,000 people, injuring over 9,000 more, and leaving approximately 25,000 homeless. Theories. Accidental collision. Official explanation. The official inquiry determined that the explosion was the result of a tragic accident. The IMO had been traveling at an unsafe speed and was on the wrong side of the harbor when it collided with the Mont Blanc. The investigation placed blame on both ships' crews for failing to properly navigate the narrow channel, but it concluded that the explosion itself was an unavoidable consequence of the cargo aboard the Mont Blanc. Human error and miscommunication. Some historians argue that the disaster could have been averted if not for a series of communication failures. The decision by the Mont Blanc's crew to abandon the ship without effectively communicating the nature of their cargo likely contributed to the scale of the disaster. Others point to the port authorities' lack of awareness about the Mont Blanc's dangerous cargo, a critical oversight that could have allowed for more preventive measures. Negligence claims. In the years following the disaster, there were numerous lawsuits and claims of negligence. Families of victims and survivors sought compensation from both the French and Norwegian governments, although many cases were settled out of court. Legacy. The Halifax explosion remains one of Canada's greatest tragedies and a sobering reminder of the risks associated with transporting volatile materials during wartime. The disaster led to significant reforms in maritime safety and emergency preparedness in Canada and beyond. The scale of destruction and loss of life also had a profound impact on the Halifax community, which rebuilt in the aftermath of the tragedy with support from international aid. 3. The Empress of Ireland. The RMS Empress of Ireland was a Canadian Pacific Ocean liner that sank in the early hours of May 29, 1914, in the St. Lawrence River after colliding with the Norwegian collier Storstad. The Empress of Ireland was en route from Quebec City to Liverpool, carrying 1,477 passengers and crew. Of these, 1,012 perished, making it one of the deadliest maritime disasters in Canadian history. The sinking of the Empress of Ireland was overshadowed by the outbreak of World War I just months later, and the tragedy never achieved the same level of international recognition as the Titanic or Lusitania. Nevertheless, the disaster has left a lasting mark on Canadian maritime history. Theories. Fog and visibility. The official inquiry into the sinking determined that heavy fog played a significant role in the disaster. As the Empress of Ireland and the Storstad approached each other in the St. Lawrence River, fog reduced visibility to nearly zero. The two ships were unaware of each other's precise positions until it was too late to avoid a collision. Miscommunication and navigational errors. The inquiry also highlighted a series of miscommunications between the two ships. Both captains believed they were on the correct course and made evasive maneuvers that ultimately brought them into the path of collision. The Storstad's reinforced bows struck the Empress of Ireland at an angle, causing catastrophic damage that led to the liner's sinking in just 14 minutes. Design flaws. Some maritime experts have pointed to design flaws in the Empress of Ireland as a contributing factor to the high death toll. Like the Titanic, the Empress had watertight compartments, but they were quickly overwhelmed by the massive influx of water. Additionally, many passengers were unable to access lifeboats in time due to the ship's rapid listing and flooding. Legacy. The sinking of the Empress of Ireland remains a tragic chapter in Canada's maritime history, yet it has largely been forgotten by the general public. In recent years, efforts have been made to preserve the wreck and commemorate the lives lost in the disaster. The wreck site is now a designated Canadian National Historic Site, and a museum dedicated to the Empress stands in Rimouski, Quebec. 4. The Etruria. The SS Etruria was a British steamship that disappeared under mysterious circumstances during World War I. In early 1917, the Etruria set sail from a British port, carrying a cargo of war supplies and civilian passengers. It was last seen near the coast of Ireland, after which it seemingly vanished without a trace. Given the timing of the ship's disappearance and the fact that it was traveling through waters patrolled by German U-boats, it is widely believed that the Etruria was sunk by a submarine. However, no wreckage was ever found, and there were no survivors, leaving many questions about the ship's fate. Theories. German U-boat attack, most likely theory. The most plausible explanation for the Etruria's disappearance is that it was torpedoed by a German U-boat. During this period, U-boats were wreaking havoc on Allied shipping in the Atlantic, and many ships were lost without a trace. The Etruria's cargo and route would have made it a prime target for a submarine attack. Minefield theory. Another theory suggests that the Etruria may have struck a mine laid by German forces. Mines were a common hazard in the waters around Britain during the war, and many ships were lost after accidentally sailing into minefields. Internal explosion or sabotage. Some have speculated that the Etruria may have been sabotaged from within, either by a disgruntled crew member or by a hidden explosive device. While there is little evidence to support this theory, it remains a possibility given the mysterious nature of the ship's disappearance. Legacy. The Etruria's disappearance adds to the long list of mysterious ship losses during World War I, many of which remain unresolved due to the lack of wreckage and survivors. Though less well known than other wartime sinkings like that of the Lusitania, the Etruria is remembered as one of the many vessels that vanished into the Atlantic under the threat of German U-boats. Its fate serves as a reminder of the dangers faced by merchant and passenger vessels during wartime, and the many lives lost in these perilous waters. 5. The Arctic. The SS Arctic was a luxury passenger ship that operated during the height of the transatlantic passenger trade. Launched in 1850, it was part of the Collins Line, an American company hoping to compete with the British Cunard Line. The Arctic was a symbol of American technological advancement, known for its speed and elegant accommodations. On September 27, 1854, while en route from Liverpool to New York, the Arctic collided with the French steamship Vesta in heavy fog off the coast of Newfoundland. The Arctic was critically damaged, and despite the crew's efforts to save the ship, it began sinking. Chaos erupted as the crew and passengers scrambled for lifeboats, but the Arctic lacked enough lifeboats to save everyone aboard. In an infamous decision, many of the crew took the available lifeboats for themselves, abandoning the passengers, including women and children, to their fate. Of the approximately 400 people on board, only 85 survived. Theories. Fog and navigational challenges. The primary cause of the disaster was the collision with the Vesta, which occurred in dense fog. At the time, maritime navigation relied heavily on visual cues, and the crew of the Arctic could not see the Vesta until it was too late to avoid a collision. This has led some historians to view the disaster as a tragic accident, worsened by the challenges of navigating the North Atlantic. Crew negligence and lack of lifeboats. The Arctic disaster has been criticized as an example of gross negligence by the ship's crew. Not only did the ship lack enough lifeboats, but the crew's actions during the sinking, abandoning passengers to save themselves, have been widely condemned. Some survivors later testified that the crew's behavior added to the chaos and confusion, contributing to the high death toll. Structural design issues. Some maritime experts have speculated that the Arctic may have had structural weaknesses that contributed to its rapid sinking. Although the ship was one of the most advanced vessels of its time, it was not designed to withstand a major collision, and the damage inflicted by the Vesta proved catastrophic. Legacy. The Arctic disaster was one of the worst maritime tragedies of the 19th century, but it was soon overshadowed by other, more publicized disasters, such as the Titanic decades later. However, the sinking of the Arctic exposed serious flaws in the maritime industry, particularly the lack of safety regulations regarding lifeboats and crew conduct during emergencies. The tragedy led to increased public awareness of the need for better maritime safety standards and ultimately contributed to reforms in shipbuilding and passenger safety. Conclusion. Each of these ships, from the Kursk to the Arctic, represents a moment in maritime history that is both tragic and mysterious. While some of these disasters have clear causes, others remain shrouded in uncertainty, with only theories and speculation to explain what went wrong. The stories of these vessels serve as a reminder of the dangers that sailors and passengers faced throughout history, and the many mysteries that still linger beneath the waves. Thank you for joining us on this journey through some of history's most compelling maritime mysteries. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on more fascinating stories from the past. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.